This year, the Drumheller Dragons recorded a franchise-best 37 wins on the season. The Dragons team they surpassed for most wins all time was the 2013-14 team. They won 35 games. It was a team that put up the best postseason run in franchise history, ending in a South Division championship. The Dragons were led by then head coach Brian Curran, a former NHL enforcer who played 381 games in the NHL, splitting time with the Boston Bruins, New York Islanders, Toronto Maple Leafs, Buffalo Sabres, and the Washington Capitals. His gritty, no-nonsense approach to the game of hockey rubbed off on his players, and that style of play would become prominently displayed in a playoff run for the ages. The Dragons were rolling heading into the postseason, solidified by newly acquired veteran goaltender Devin Buffalo from the Flin Flon Bombers of the SJHL. The Dragons' first test in round 1 was the Calgary Mustangs. With the Dragons up 2-0, they were heading to Calgary to the Father David Bauer Arena, where they would complete the sweep with a 10-3 victory to advance to round 2. Curtis Skip picked up the win in net, giving Buffalo the night off, while forward Christopher Rockman scored 35 seconds into the game and picked up 2 more goals for his first playoff hat trick. It was the first time a Dragons player had scored a hat trick in the playoffs. The Dragons also set a team record for goals scored in a playoff game. The line of Alex Bechtold, Ethan James, and Dallas Smith combined for 8 points, 4 of them from Bechtold. The native of Strathmore, Alberta, finished with 7 points in the series. It was on to round 2 and the Canmore Eagles, where the Dragons' offense ramped up in the second round. Christopher Rockman led the way with 9 goals, while Dragons captain Trent Ouellette added 10 assists. Meanwhile, Alex Bechtold picked up 5 goals in an overall offense that scored 40 goals in the first 8 games of the playoffs. The Dragons would eventually finish off the Eagles in 5 games to advance to the South Division Finals against their rivals and the reigning Alberta Junior Hockey League and national champion, Brooks Bandits. Much like this season, the Bandits were the team to beat coming out of the South Division in 2013-14, but the Dragons were on fire and wouldn't be denied that easily. Game 1 and 2 were held in Brooks, where the Dragons had never won, but much to the surprise of many, Drumheller stole both games on the road, backstopped by an incredible goaltending performance from Devin Buffalo in net. So they were heading back to Drumheller, where they were unbeaten at the Memorial Arena through 5 games in the postseason. The Dragons would make it 6 straight at home with a win in Game 3, putting the Bandits on the ropes, and even though Brooks came to life in Game 4, picking up a 3-1 win, heading back home, it was still the Dragons who ultimately edged out a nail-biter 3-2 in Game 5 to eliminate the Bandits and head to the Alberta Junior Hockey League Gas Drive Cup Finals for the first time in franchise history. Captain Trent Ouellette scored the game winner. Through 13 games, the Dragons were 11-2, heading to Spruce Grove for a championship date with the Saints. And it was a hard-fought series. Both teams battled to the bitter end. But ultimately, the Saints' offense proved too much for the Dragons to handle in the finals, as they would go on to sweep the series and capture the Alberta Junior Hockey League championship. It was a heartbreaking end to one of the most memorable seasons in Drumheller Dragons history. But what it did, however, was instill a culture of winning and pride and expectation and a will to win within this community. A fan base eager for a championship, and who once again have a team they can believe in heading into the postseason.